So one of the things that we try to focus on in the training is helping people understand some of the differences between how we're traditionally trained to teach language. She's showing him each picture and asking him, are these the same? And he has to say yes or no. When I first started in the field, there's a lot of focus on more of just like the vocabulary, and it's really in isolation. So there's not really the contextual cues and how things relate to one another. He's mastering skills rather quickly, and Mom had to do quite a bit of work with him to pair the table and just get him excited to like sit and work with her because he had a lot of challenging behavior. But all of the things that he's learning here are being taught in the paradigm that the BB-MAP kind of focuses on, and a lot of our traditional programs focus on, where it's that stimulus response consequence focus, where it's just rote memorization. So looking at this, when I first met him, we are working on opposites. We have like an opposites program where we're just training, like these are all of the opposites, but we're not necessarily looking at it in the relational framework, where when you're looking at training with using relational frame theory research, if you were doing opposites, you might train like an elephant is the same as big, but big is the opposite of small, and then you would have, for free, you would get, so small is the opposite of elephant, elephant is the opposite of small, small is the opposite of big, and you have this network forming with just training a couple of things. With my initial training in the field, we wouldn't have looked at that network. We would have just been training like, this is big, this is small. So like an elephant and a mouse, which one's big? You know, the elephant. And then it's also looking at things not just from that opposite standpoint, but of course the frame of comparison, so like bigger and smaller, and working on training these different networks almost simultaneously, as opposed to having things in isolation. And what happens when you train it in isolation, we often have learners where they're then not learning, they're learning some rote memorized responses, but they're not learning anything about the contextual cues and the things that really make language matter. So when they go into natural environments or they encounter new situations with the same concepts, if it's not set up exactly how we did it in our structured kind of stimulus response consequence format, where there's just some index cards and they have to find the big one or the small one, we see that they're struggling to respond because the stimulus control is really just those index cards, and it's not all of the contextual cues and the full relational network that we would be training if we were doing transformation.